I used to believe that 7 years of marriage meant something. That all those mornings waking up next to the same woman, all those whispered promises in the dark, all those Sunday services sitting side by side in the same pew, actually meant we were building something real. That sunny morning watching my wife Megan smile in her favorite floral dress while our 2 kids held our hands, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. I had no idea that everything was about to burn. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you believe in love loyalty and the truth always coming out, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. What happened next shattered everything I believed about my marriage, my wife, and the life I thought we had built together. That Sunday started like any other. We woke up around 7:30 in the morning, had breakfast together as a family, and got the kids ready for church. Ethan, our 4-year-old son, was excited because his Sunday school class was learning a new song. Lily, just 2 years old, was fussy, but calmed down once Megan held her. Looking at my wife that morning, I remember thinking how beautiful she looked. Her brown hair was pulled back. Her makeup was simple, but elegant, and that floral dress made her look like the same girl I fell in love with back in college. We met during our sophomore year at Ohio State. She was studying business administration, I was in construction management. We dated for 3 years before I proposed on the night of our graduation. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. And for a long time, I believed that too. The drive to church took about 15 minutes. We attended a mid-sized congregation in the suburbs, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and asks about your kids. Megan had been a member since childhood. I converted from being non-religious after we got married because faith was important to her. Or at least, that is what she told me. The service that day was about forgiveness. The pastor spoke about letting go of anger, about trusting in a higher plan even when life does not make sense. I sat there holding Megan's hand, feeling grateful for the life we had built. A nice house in a quiet neighborhood, 2 beautiful children, stable jobs. I was a project manager at a construction company, and Megan worked as an administrative assistant at a real estate firm downtown. We were not rich, but we were comfortable. We were happy. At least I was happy. After the service ended, we walked out into the parking lot. The sun was shining, kids were running around, and people were chatting in small groups. I was carrying Lily while Megan held Ethan's hand. We were about 30 feet from our car when I noticed a woman walking toward us with purpose. She was maybe 40 years old, well-dressed in a navy blue skirt and white blouse. Her hair was styled neatly, and she wore pearl earrings. She looked like someone's mother, someone's wife, someone respectable. I assumed she was a member of the congregation I had not met yet, maybe someone who wanted to introduce herself or ask about a church event. I was wrong. The woman walked straight up to Megan and without a single word slapped her across the face so hard that the sound echoed across the parking lot. Megan stumbled backward, nearly falling. Lily started screaming in my arms. Ethan froze in shock. Everyone around us stopped and stared. I reacted on instinct. I stepped between Megan and the woman, my free arm pushing her back. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I shouted. The woman's face was red, tears streaming down her cheeks. She pointed at Megan with a shaking finger. "You destroyed my family," she screamed. "You took everything from me, everything." I thought she was crazy, a case of mistaken identity, some mentally unstable person who had confused my wife with someone else. I looked at Megan expecting to see confusion or anger on her face. Instead, I saw something that made my stomach drop. Fear. Pure, undiluted fear. Megan's face had gone completely white. Her hands were trembling. Her eyes were wide, not with confusion, but with recognition. She knew this woman. and whatever the woman was accusing her of, Megan was terrified of being exposed. "Let us just go," Megan whispered, grabbing my arm. "Please, just take me home." She did not ask who the woman was. She did not demand an explanation. She did not want to call the police or file a report. She just wanted to run. Some church members intervened, pulling the woman away. Someone mentioned calling security. But Megan kept pulling me toward the car, her grip tight and desperate. "We need to go. Now. Please, Benjamin." I put Lily in her car seat, helped Ethan buckle up, and drove away. The whole ride home, Megan sat in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead. She did not speak. She did not cry. She just sat there, frozen like a criminal who had just been caught. "Do you know that woman?" I asked. "No," Megan said. But she did not look at me when she said it. The kids were upset, asking why that lady hit Mommy, why everyone was yelling. Normally, Megan would have comforted them, explained things in a gentle way, made them feel safe. But she said nothing. She just stared out the window, lost in her own thoughts. When we got home, Megan went straight to the bathroom and locked the door. I could hear her crying through the door, but when I knocked and asked if she was okay, she just said she needed a minute. That minute turned into over an hour. That night, Megan went to bed early, claiming she had a headache. She lay on her side of the bed, curled up with her back to me. When I reached out to touch her shoulder, she flinched. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling. Something was very wrong. The woman at church was not crazy. She knew Megan, and Megan knew her. The question that kept running through my mind was simple, but terrifying. What was my wife hiding from me? 2 days passed, and I could not stop thinking about what happened. Megan acted like nothing was wrong, going through her daily routine, smiling at the kids, kissing me goodbye each morning. But there was something different in her eyes, a guardedness that had not been there before. Every time her phone buzzed, she would grab it quickly and angle the screen away from me. I started asking around at church, casually bringing up the incident. One of the older members, a woman named Patricia, who had been attending for decades, recognized my description of the attacker. "That sounds like Diane Harrison," Patricia said. "Her husband Greg works in real estate downtown. They used to attend here years ago before switching to another congregation. Such a shame. I heard they are going through a divorce." Real estate. Downtown. The same industry where Megan worked. I went home and looked up Greg Harrison on LinkedIn. What I found made my heart stop. Greg Harrison, sales director at Prestige Realty Group, the same company where Megan worked. His profile picture showed a handsome man in his early 40s, salt and pepper hair, expensive suit, confident smile. The kind of man women noticed. I told myself I was being paranoid. Just because they worked at the same company did not mean anything. There could be 100 explanations. Maybe Megan had accidentally offended Diane at some work event. Maybe there was a misunderstanding about a business deal. Maybe Diane really was just unstable. But the fear in Megan's eyes that day told a different story. That night, I waited until Megan fell asleep. Her phone was on the nightstand, plugged in and charging. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. I had never done this before in 7 years of marriage. I had always trusted her completely. But trust was now a luxury I could not afford. Her text messages had been mostly deleted. Her emails showed nothing unusual. Her call log was clean. For a moment, I felt relief wash over me. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was just being a jealous fool. Then I found the hidden photo album. It was buried in her phone's gallery in a folder labeled Work Documents. Inside were over 200 pictures. Pictures of my wife with Greg Harrison. At restaurants I had never heard of. At hotels I did not recognize. On beaches during times she told me she was at work conferences. In some photos they were kissing. In others they were in bed together. The timestamps went back 2 years. 2 years. 730 days of lies. Of her kissing me goodbye in the morning and then going to him. Of her telling me she loved me while typing the same words to another man. Of her coming home and sleeping next to me after being in his arms. I made it to the bathroom just in time to throw up. I do not know how long I sat on that cold tile floor. Time lost all meaning. I scrolled through the photos one by one, each image a knife in my chest. There were messages too saved as screenshots, pet names they called each other, plans they made, inside jokes I was never part of. One message in particular destroyed me. It was from Megan to Greg, dated about 18 months ago. I wish I had met you before Benjamin. He is a good man, but he is so boring. You make me feel alive. Boring. After everything I had done for her, everything I had sacrificed, every dream I had put on hold to build a life with her, I was just boring. I did not sleep that night. I sat in the living room in the dark, watching the sun rise through the window, trying to figure out what to do next. Part of me wanted to wake her up right then and demand answers. Part of me wanted to pack a bag and leave without a word. Part of me wanted to drive to Greg Harrison's house and beat him until he could not stand. But I did none of those things. Because another part of me, the rational part that had served me well in my career, told me I needed to be smart about this. Over the next week, I gathered more evidence. I contacted a friend from college named Derek, who worked in IT security. He helped me recover deleted emails from Megan's account. What I found was even worse than the photos. Megan and Greg had talked about running away together. Greg had promised to divorce Diane and take Megan to California, where they would start a new life. They had discussed how to handle the kids, how to split assets, how to time everything perfectly so their spouses would not see it coming. They had been planning to leave me, to take my children and disappear. I also discovered something that shattered whatever was left of my heart. Looking at the timeline of their relationship and doing the math, I realized that Lily was conceived during a trip Megan took to Miami for a supposed work conference. A conference where, according to her emails, she spent 3 nights in a hotel room with Greg. Lily might not be my daughter. I immediately ordered a DNA testing kit online. The results would take about a week. But deep down, I already knew the truth. The way Lily's eyes were shaped, the curve of her nose. Features I had attributed to Megan's side of the family suddenly looked different. They looked like Greg. For 2 years, I had been raising another man's child, believing she was mine, loving her with everything I had. And Megan had watched me do it, knowing the truth, saying nothing. The woman I married was a stranger, a liar, a fraud, and I was going to make sure she lost everything. I contacted Diane Harrison through Facebook. She was hesitant at first, probably embarrassed about the scene at church. But when I told her I had discovered the affair and needed to talk, she agreed to meet me at a coffee shop across town. Diane looked different from the woman who had slapped my wife. She was calmer, but clearly broken. Dark circles under her eyes. Weight loss that made her clothes hang loose. The hollow look of someone whose world had collapsed. "I am sorry about what happened at the church," she said first. I lost control. I had been following Greg that morning, saw him texting her, and when I saw her standing there looking so happy and perfect, I just snapped. "How long have you known?" I asked. "About 6 months," Diane replied. I found a receipt for jewelry I never received. Started digging. The more I looked, the more I found. When I confronted Greg, he admitted everything. Said he was in love with her. Said he wanted a divorce. Diane's story was a mirror of my own. She had tried to save her marriage, suggested counseling, begged Greg to end the affair, but he refused. Instead, he hired an aggressive divorce attorney, started hiding assets, and painted Diane as an unstable wife to anyone who would listen. By the time she realized what was happening, Greg had positioned himself to win everything. "He is a snake," Diane warned me. "Smart, manipulative, charming. He will destroy you before you even know what is happening. Do not underestimate him." I thanked Diane for her honesty and promised to stay in touch. On the drive home, I made a decision. I would not confront Megan yet. I would not give her or Greg the chance to spin their lies, hide their tracks, or turn this around on me. I was going to play the long game. First, I consulted with a divorce attorney. She reviewed Ohio state laws with me and helped me understand my rights. Because Megan had committed adultery, and because I had documented proof, I had significant leverage in divorce proceedings. In Ohio, while adultery does not automatically affect asset division, it can influence spousal support decisions, and more importantly, gives me the moral high ground in custody negotiations. Second, I quietly moved exactly half of our joint savings into a personal account. This was legally my money, and I did not want Megan draining the accounts once she realized what was coming. Third, I documented everything. Every photo, every email, every message. I saved copies in multiple locations, cloud storage, external hard drives, even a safe deposit box at a bank Megan did not know I used. Fourth, and this was the part I enjoyed most, I gathered information about Greg's professional conduct. Through his emails with Megan, I discovered that he had used company resources for their affair. Company credit cards for hotel rooms, a company car for their trips. Work hours spent with Megan instead of with clients. I compiled a detailed report and anonymously sent it to the CEO of Prestige Realty Group. 2 weeks later, the DNA results arrived. I opened the envelope alone, sitting in my car in a parking lot, hands trembling. Probability of paternity 0.0%. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father. Lily was not my daughter. I sat in that car for 2 hours crying until I had nothing left. For 2 years I had changed her diapers, soothed her nightmares, celebrated her first steps, and told her I loved her every single day. She called me Daddy. She reached for me when she was scared. And none of it was real. But my grief eventually hardened into resolve. This was not Lily's fault. She was an innocent child caught in her mother's web of lies. My anger was for Megan and Megan alone. The day I chose to confront her was a Thursday. She told me she was going to a book club meeting with friends, the same excuse she had used dozens of times over the past 2 years. I knew she was actually meeting Greg at their usual hotel. While she was gone, I made arrangements. I called my parents and asked them to pick up Ethan for a sleepover. I told them I had a surprise planned for Megan and needed the house empty. They were happy to help, completely unaware of what was really happening. Then I prepared the living room. On the coffee table I laid out everything. Printed photos of Megan and Greg together, screenshots of their messages, the DNA results, divorce papers I had already had prepared by my attorney. And I waited. Megan came home around 11 that night, humming softly as she walked through the door. She was surprised to see me sitting in the living room with all the lights on. "Benjamin, where are the kids?" "At my parents' house," I said calmly. "We need to talk." She saw the papers on the table, and the color drained from her face. The same look of fear I had seen at the church. "What is this?" she whispered. "You know what it is." She tried to deny it at first. Said the photos were fake, that someone was trying to frame her, that I was being paranoid and jealous. But as I walked her through each piece of evidence, her lies crumbled one by one. Finally, she broke down, crying. "I am so sorry," she sobbed. "It was a mistake. I never meant for it to go this far." 2 years, Megan. 2 years is not a mistake. It is a choice, hundreds of choices. Every single day you chose to lie to me. She tried every excuse in the book. She blamed me for working too much. She blamed our marriage for becoming routine. She blamed Greg for seducing her. She even blamed the stress of motherhood. "You were always at work," she said through her tears. "You never made me feel special anymore." Greg understood me. He made me feel alive. "So I am boring," I replied. "I saw your message, that I was a good man but boring. Is that what our marriage was worth to you? What our family was worth?" She had no answer for that. I told her about the DNA test, watched her face crumble when she realized I knew Lily was not mine. She tried to convince me that she wasn't sure who the father was, that there was a chance Lily was mine. But we both knew the truth. The timing, the features, the test results. "I am filing for divorce," I said, sliding the papers toward her. "You can sign them willingly, or we can do this the hard way. But either way, this marriage is over." What followed was weeks of legal proceedings that I will not bore you with. The important thing is this: I had prepared. I had evidence. I had documentation. Megan had nothing but excuses and tears. The court awarded me full custody of Ethan. Because Lily was not biologically mine and Megan was her mother, I had no claim to custody, nor did I want one. The court also determined that I owed no child support for a child that was not mine. As for Greg, karma found him faster than I expected. The CEO of Prestige Realty Group took my anonymous report very seriously. An internal investigation revealed that Greg had misused over $50,000 in company resources for his affair. He was fired immediately. His professional reputation was destroyed. No reputable firm in Ohio would touch him. Without his high-paying job, Greg suddenly had very different priorities. He stopped pursuing the divorce from Diane. He stopped making promises to Megan about California and new beginnings. Instead, he crawled back to his wife, begging for forgiveness, desperate to salvage something from the wreckage of his life. Megan was left with nothing. No husband, no lover, no job, because the HR investigation at her company found that she had also violated workplace policies. She moved back in with her parents at 32 years old, a single mother with a toddler, her reputation in ruins. The day my divorce was finalized, I walked out of the courthouse into a light rain. It was the kind of rain that feels like the world is washing itself clean. I stood on the steps for a long moment, breathing in the cool air, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. I did not feel happy exactly. There was no joy in watching a 7-year marriage burn to ashes. But I felt free. Free from the lies. Free from the pretending. Free from loving someone who never truly loved me back. I had burned everything down. And standing in those ashes, I finally felt like myself again. The first few months after the divorce were the hardest. I would wake up in the middle of the night reaching for someone who was no longer there. The house felt too quiet, too empty. Every room held memories of a life that had been nothing but a beautiful lie. Explaining things to Ethan was one of the most difficult conversations of my life. He kept asking where Mommy was when she was coming home, why he could not see Lily anymore. I told him that Mommy and Daddy were not going to live together anymore, but that we both loved him very much. He did not understand, and honestly, neither did I. How do you explain betrayal to a 4-year-old? How do you tell him that the family he knew was built on deception? I started seeing a therapist. Not because I wanted to, but because my doctor insisted after I lost 15 pounds in a month from not eating. The therapist helped me understand that none of this was my fault, that Megan's choices were her own, that being a faithful, hard-working husband was not boring. It was what any decent person should be. Marcus, my friend from college, called me one night out of the blue. He had heard about my divorce through mutual friends and wanted to check on me. We talked for 3 hours that first night, and he became one of my closest confidants during that dark time. Some nights when the loneliness felt suffocating, just having someone to call made all the difference. I threw myself into being the best father I could be for Ethan. We developed new routines, Saturday morning pancakes, Sunday afternoon trips to the park, Wednesday night pizza, and movie nights. He became my reason to get out of bed on the days when I wanted to give up. I started going to the gym again, something I had neglected during my marriage because I was always too busy. At first it was just a way to exhaust myself so I could sleep. But gradually it became something more. A way to rebuild myself physically, as I was rebuilding myself emotionally. About a year after the divorce, I sold the house. I could not stand living in a place where every corner reminded me of her. Ethan and I moved to a smaller but newer apartment on the other side of town. New walls, new memories, a fresh start. I still think about Lily sometimes. I know she is not my biological daughter, and I know I have no legal claim to her, but for 2 years I loved her as my own. I changed her diapers, rocked her to sleep, taught her first words. You cannot just erase that kind of love even when you learn it was built on lies. I hope she is okay. I hope Megan is at least a good mother to her, even if she was a terrible wife to me. That innocent little girl deserves a good life, regardless of how she came into this world. About 18 months after the divorce, I met someone new. Her name is Harper. She is a nurse at the hospital where I took Ethan when he broke his arm falling off the monkey bars. She was kind and patient with him, and something about her smile reminded me that good people still exist in this world. We took things slow. I was honest with her about everything, my divorce, the affair, even my trust issues. She listened without judgment. She understood that I was damaged goods but believed I was worth the effort. Ethan adores her. He calls her daddy's friend and gets excited whenever she comes over. He asked me once if Harper was going to be his new mommy. I told him I did not know yet, but that whatever happened, he would always have people who loved him. 2 years have passed since that terrible day at church. I am not the same man I was before. The naive belief that love conquers all that loyalty is always rewarded, that marriage is sacred. All of that died along with my marriage. But maybe that is not entirely a bad thing. I am more careful now, more protective of my heart, but also more grateful for the genuine connections I do have. Last Sunday I took Ethan to the park near our apartment. It was a beautiful autumn afternoon, leaves changing colors, kids laughing on the playground, parents chatting on benches. I watched my son run across the grass, his laughter echoing through the air, and I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Peace. Not happiness exactly. The scars are still there. They probably always will be. But peace. Acceptance. The knowledge that I survived something that could have destroyed me and came out the other side stronger. Someone once told me that you have to burn everything down to see what is truly fireproof. I did not understand that at the time, but I do now. The fire took my marriage, my trust, my innocence, and a daughter who was never really mine. But what remained after the flames died out was more valuable than anything I lost. My integrity, my self-respect, my son, and the knowledge that I am strong enough to rebuild from nothing. If you are going through something similar, if someone you trusted has torn your world apart, I want you to know that it gets better. Not immediately, not easily, but eventually. The pain does not disappear, but it becomes manageable. You learn to live with it. And one day you wake up and realize that the worst day of your life was also the first day of a new chapter. A chapter where you are the author, where you decide what happens next, where the people who hurt you no longer have power over you. That is the real revenge. Not anger, not bitterness, not wasting your life hating someone who is not worth the energy. The real revenge is living well, building something beautiful from the ashes they left behind, being happy despite everything they did to destroy you. So if you are in the middle of your own fire right now, hold on. The flames will not last forever. And what remains when they die out might just be the best version of yourself you have ever known. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever discovered a betrayal that changed your life? How did you find the strength to rebuild? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is going through the same thing right now. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these videos and know they are not alone. Subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more stories about survival strength and starting over. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message today, please share this video with them. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And remember, no matter how dark things seem right now, you have the strength to burn it all down and build something better from the ashes. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.